All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2019 Norwood Sorrento's Greater Cincinnati Hall of Fame. My name is Todd Sledge, and I will be your host for this afternoon's events, and it's my privilege to welcome you to the Radisson Hotel here in Cincinnati for our 34th Annual Softball Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It is now time to honor the individuals we are here this afternoon to celebrate and honor. As I call out the inductees' names, if they would stand and after hearing their name called, remain standing until the last inductee's name is read. Please hold all your applauses until the end when all the names have been read. Your 2019 inductees into the Norwood Sorrento's Greater Cincinnati Hall of Fame are Jimmy Carter, male player category. Andy Larkins, special category. Norm Stafford, manager category. Billy Jackson, male player category. Stephen Gordon, umpire category. And Jane Meier, female player category. These are your 2019 Sorrento's Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame inductees. These are local accomplishments from this past season that involve USSSA and GSL, the Global Softball League. Eric Snyder from TNW Mikan. TNW Mikan won the men's GSL B World Championship in Columbus, Ohio. Kevin Forwith and Rocky State, Premier Services Easton team, qualified for the men's major USSSA World Series in Vieira, Florida, as an A team. Brad Tabler with Precision, qualified for the men's major USSSA World Series in Vieira, Florida, as a double A team. Brian Wegman and Brad Reckard with Rismondo won the men's major USSSA World Series in Vieira, Florida, and I believe that was a repeat performance, gentlemen. Congratulations. Roy Hopkins and Jimmy Carter with Jays. They were co-champions of the 35 and over plus major GSL World Championships. That event was delayed actually from about a 90-mile-an-hour windstorm in Cincinnati, Ohio. Jim Freeze, Brad Tabler, Todd Sledge, Jason Resch, Tom Kelly with Freeze Concrete won the 40-plus major GSL World Championships held in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tim Barker, Bill Brown, Leo Osterday, and Jim Nageleisen won the 60-plus over ISSA World Tournament this past November in Daytona Beach, Florida, and Tim Barker was named selected as MVP. Congratulations, Timmy. Also, our USSSA GSL office held state state convention a couple weeks ago. In our audience, we awarded a couple awards, but in our audience were the co-facilities of the year in the state of Ohio. They're from River City Sports Complex, Nikki Simmel-Wazalewski, and Mid-America Ball Yard is Dave Morey and Melissa Alcaid. So congratulations to all those accomplishments. And now I'd like to observe a moment of silence for some of our softball friends who have passed away this past year. All of these members are Hall of Fame, or in the Hall of Fame. Max Dixon, Red Ronnie Jones, Walt Reckers, Donnie Holden, and also from the senior program, Joe Glasscock. So we could take a few minutes to honor their memory as they passed away this past season. Thank you very much. Don't forget, I already mentioned, and I know where's my buddy Mark Linnemann at? He's around here somewhere. Going to mention it again, our Super Bowl squares are available, as Mark always says. We also have Split the Pot available as well. Also, on your tables, there is a 3x5 card. If you could take a few minutes throughout the ceremonies tonight, you can place your name, a phone number, and an email address. We will start to acclimate towards more of an electronic recognition to some of you in the room. So if you can fill those out, leave them on your tables, and we will pick those up later on this evening. And now for the balance of our afternoon, we helped launch the 2000 softball season by looking back at the stars of the season's past. As our softball community bestows its highest possible honor on 6 area legends, today we will immortalize 6 more individuals whose achievements and contributions to the game of softball have brought fame and honor both to themselves and the greater Cincinnati softball community. Our format this afternoon will be similar to what we've done in the past. After dinner, we will introduce some special guests our current Hall of Fame members, our sponsors, and then begin our induction ceremony. This is for Mark and Diane Linnemann. Many of you know we would not be here. Many of you, this induction ceremonies would not have taken place. Dedication and hard work, people behind the scenes, it's a thankless amount of times, envelopes, tickets, ordering cakes, you know it. And we just thought last year Mark introduced or mentioned his transition, of what his plans are with him and Diane. And you know, over that last transition from this year to this year, I just thought we need to make this formal and some recognition. So we have this plaque for them to hang in your beautiful home. It says, presented to Mark and Diane Linnemann. On behalf of the Sorrento's Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame, previous and future inductees and sponsors, we sincerely thank you for the many years of your dedicated service to the softball community. Your passion and commitment for the love of slow pitch softball over the many past decades will never be forgotten. Thank you very much, Mark and Diane. Dave Moore would like to say a few words.
Thank you to both of them. It's been a pleasure working with Mark for the last 30 some odd years in softball. I've never met a man who put up with as much stuff as park directors, umpires, that we all do trying to deal with this great game. Mark has done it all as a player, administrator, done a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't realize how much time and effort goes into this. And Diane, this banquet wouldn't be what it is today without your hard work also. And it's been a pleasure, and I feel honored that Mark and Diane are turning things over to Todd and myself to continue this great tradition, and I just want to say thank you very much.
This time, we'd like to introduce Norm's family members who are here this afternoon to share this special occasion. We'd like to ask the following individuals to please stand or remain standing until everyone has been introduced. We ask everyone, please hold your applause. Norm's daughter and son-in-law, Jessica, Tom, and his granddaughters, Carolina and Faith. And now if there's anyone else here today to honor Norm, we'd also like to invite you guys to stand at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, the family and friends of Norm Stafford. Here to share some of the insights into Norm's career this afternoon is his longtime friend and teammate and 2011 inductee to the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame, Jim "The Rock" Wessel.
Thank you, Jeff. Get my specs on. And since Dave Maury superseded me on Diane and Mark, I would like to take a little time and thank the selection committee, because they have such a tough job of assembling all the applications and figuring out who they're going to induct this year. So thank you so much. And then also, I have to give my congratulations to the inductees this year to the Sorrento's Hall of Fame. I am here today to share time and introduce my good friend, Norm Stafford, affectionately known as the Czar. And no, he's not Clyde Stafford's son, nor is he any relation. I've known Norm for 25, maybe 30 years, and we could not ask for any better friend. To me, Norm has a passion for softball that very few of us have or ever will have. I've seen him do some things in softball that were humorous, etc. And I want to share with you one such thing to give you an idea of Norm's passion. We're playing over at Turner's Field on a senior night, Monday night, And we're playing a team that we probably should win maybe by the fourth inning, have mercy them. And we're struggling. We're barely a run or two ahead if sometimes we're behind. And he was certain that part of the team was tanking every play that came out to him. And so we proceeded to win the game by maybe a couple of runs. And at the end, we always get together and go to lunch or eat at the local diner to just chew fat and whatever the case may be. So we were assembling, deciding which one we go into tonight. Well, we looked around, Norm wasn't anywhere to be seen. And we said, well, where's Norm? They said, well, he left earlier. Came to find out the next day that Norm left because he was so upset with us because we didn't mercy that team that he just took off. Now, Norm, as the plans were made, let's see, oh, this is passion. Those who have played with Norm know that he has a great desire to capitalize on his feet. He's very quick, and he decided he wanted to bat left-handed. He's a natural right-handed hitter. But he decides that he wants to try and practice. Before every game, we had batting practices, so we'd take a few swats with the ball, and he'd practice trying to drop the ball down the left side of the field. I think, Leo, your record's safe. He never quite accomplished that feat. And now, that was his passion also. The Norm, another passion he has is for his grandchildren. And so we speak about once a week on the phone. And during that time, he'll tell me how they've done and whether they're the 5-year-old or the first or second grade child. He'll tell me what their stats are, what their records are, how many games they've won, how many they've lost. Shared with me that the one little, I think maybe 9-year-old hit a 3-pointer. And so he likes to share that type of information. And now, Norm is really known for his ability to manage and put together great ball clubs in the senior division. He's put together championship teams in the national level, and he's done that over many years. Now, at this point, he, I forgot one thing. He also has had affiliation with the super majors periodically in the past. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Norm Stafford.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Norm Stafford into the Norwood Sorrento's Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you, Jim, for those kind words. It means a lot coming from you. Thank everybody for taking time out of their day to come to this wonderful event. And I guess there's a lot of thanks to be given out. And the first gentleman is passed that really introduced me to competitive softball was a fellow named Dick Lally. Dick had the 43 softball teams and played with Rolling Hills on Wednesdays. And that was kind of my first playing competitive ball, and had a passion for it. That's why we're all here, when you think about it. So thank Dick. And also this gentleman, I want to echo on some of the things that have been said. 44 years ago, he had a vision. Mark decided to go watch some softball at a Classic tournament here in town. There was a Tennessee paper softball paper that was there that Mark picked up and thought that he would like to do something like that for us in our area. And that was the start of his softball paper. And I thank the Lord for keeping softball in the forefront, and certainly enjoyed your publisher comments down through the years. Senior softball, I really didn't know there was such a thing until I got close to the 50-year age. And saw some old guys that I ran into that were playing senior ball, guys like Butch Hayes, older guys, you know, that were playing senior softball, and it was at Central Turner's, and decided to, go check it out, this and that, and I saw some, guys I knew and got on the team, and that was kind of the start of it, and it's 17 years ago, and enjoyed every bit of it. The games played out supposed to be played. First World Tournament we went to was in Norwood, Florida, played against the Florida Legends, which a fellow by the name of Bruce Meade was on, and we happened to beat him. And had an old guy that followed the team around, and he got both the teams on the pitcher's mound, said a prayer, wished for everybody safe travel, and I thought, well, this is how it's supposed to be done. So had some success, and one thing I do want to mention, and Jack Hatter informed me of this today, in the SSUSA, which is the largest senior association, in their Worlds in Las Vegas this past year, 759 teams. So senior softball is certainly gained in popularity. They use, I think, 12 different complexes, etc. So, I don't want to bore you with statistics. We had a pretty good team. In senior softball, the majority of your players, whatever state that is, that's the state you're sanctioned out of, and then you're in a recruit from bordering states. So we were sanctioned out of Indiana, and then at the major plus level, you can recruit 2 players east of Mississippi for us, as an example. So they kind of do that to kind of keep it an even playing field. So I had some success. One of the worlds we won in Dalton, Georgia. And the senior ball, you can score so many runs an inning, then you have to let the other team back to kind of keep it even keel. And then the open inning, and depending on what that is, it could be the 5th inning, 6th inning, whatever. There's a time limit. It's an open inning, score as many as you want. Well, we happened to win the world title by scoring 37 in the open inning. We hit it around pretty good. And then also at Mr. Wegman's place a few years ago, we're playing this team for the championship, and you can score 7 runs an inning, that particular association. So through six innings, we had 42 runs. The other team had 38, couldn't shake them, this and that. We scored 15 in the open, and they scored 3, and we ended up winning. The amazing thing about that is I batted 13 guys, and in that particular game, we had 4 batted outs, which were 3 of the last inning. So these guys work hard at it. It's a 12-month a year. They don't take any time off. So it's been a pleasure. And in closing, I believe in the power of prayer. There's a gentleman that's not here with us that is a Hall of Famer that's going through some difficult health issues, and that's one Jackie Collins. So if everyone could possibly keep Jack in the prayers, I think it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
This afternoon will be in the special service category, Andy Larkins of North Bend. At this time, we'd like to introduce some of Andy's family members who are here this afternoon to share in this occasion. We'd like to ask the following individuals to please stand or remain standing, please. Andy's wife, Jennifer. His daughter and son, Evelyn and David. His father and mother, Dave and Becky Larkins. And now if there's anyone else here today to honor Andy, we'd also invite you to stand at this time, ladies and gentlemen, the family and friends of Andy Larkins. Here to share some thoughts about Andy's career this afternoon, his longtime friend and business partner, and your host here this afternoon for the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame induction ceremony, Mr. Todd Sledge.
Thanks, Jeff. I'll kind of start with Andy, with a little bit of background with Mark Linnemann. As many of you know, the start of the softball news, as Norm mentioned, really brought the marketing and the eyeball, and I think a lot of contribution to the game of softball. And I know in my career, many of you in the room, you would get anxious to get to the park, not only to play your game, but walk into the pro shop or out and pay I think it started out as a quarter mark and went to 50 cents and so on and so forth, to get that newspaper. And I know, many of us, we would look at that, you would see the stats. It was our own, like Cincinnati Enquirer, sports section for news. And as things travel forward, moving forward as we get through the technology of things, Andy has elevated the game of the slow pitch in town to an electronic format that I'm pleased to be a business partner with in Cincysoftball.com, where we continue our partnership with the parks, just like in the newspaper that Mark started. Also, a chat board and a way for us to get out what we do in our local parks and our tournaments and things. So that elevation of that online transition to keep Mark's dream alive and Andy's passion to do so, just over a conversation. And if you know Andy, he is an IT guy. I won't add anything else to what happens usually when you say an IT guy, but he's an IT guy. And he's done a great job with that, and I've enjoyed being a part of that, of that process. It's something that we look forward to in the growth of that. Andy has really brought that to people's phones, brackets online, all kinds of different information that you want to find that we cherish in the game. Like many of us in the room too, there's got to be people behind the scenes, and you won't find somebody better than Andy that is one of those behind the scene guys. He will attend meetings, he will do whatever you ask to do the logistics of everything, and he never says, hey, he never expects a thank you. He never expects anything from it just because he loves the game of softball. And it goes back to when he, Wednesday night guy at Rumpke Park on Wednesday nights, working on his game, wanting to do different kinds of things, and that passion he's taken behind the scenes is to build a local softball team. But also one of the things I think that I definitely have to mention is this super draft that he does every year in October, where it gives players an opportunity to play with some of the best players in the country here in Cincinnati, where players can pay a small fee and they get drafted by some coaches in town, and they get an opportunity to rub shoulders next to some of the great players in town and have that camaraderie. It's a really great event. And to his credit, this last couple seasons, he's had over more than 100 plus players every October sign up and play at that Mid-America Ballroom. It's a great event and a great time. His wavering commitment to this game, I don't know how to put in words. I didn't think that I would find somebody that shares the passion that I shared. I definitely did in my partner, for sure. My poor wife, she'll say, your boyfriend's calling, So Jenny, I promise you, he's calling me. And we have a lot of conversations, but we share that commitment. And like I said, behind the scenes, I was fortunate that he brought me along with his transition of a team from D2C a couple years ago with Coy and Neff and that group. And we've taken it now with a young group of guys that we're joining the conference this year as an 18. And we're looking forward to that with that piece. So Cincysoftball.com, it's really AndyLarkins.com if you want to know the truth. So that's my friend and your inductee, Andy Larkins.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andy Larkins, member of the Norwood Sorrento Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame.
Wow. When he says IT guy, he means nerd. But I think he's a little bit of one too. He just doesn't choose to admit it. Thank you, everybody. Mark, Todd, Hall of Fame committee members, fellow inductees, friends, and family. Thank you for this opportunity. Softball for me actually happened by accident. The story that tells you why it's such a great sport. could be played by anybody. It was 1990. I was playing for my dad, who was had to work. My brother Adam had a father-son game for Shady Fire basketball team, 6th grade. So I was out there playing basketball, and a guy named Tim McCullough, some of you might remember him as Mac, picked me up off the basketball court. I had never played an inning of softball, and said, "You need to come down here and play softball with us down in Rumpke." And so Tuesday nights and Mac kind of got me hooked. And you fast forward to 2003, I was playing 5 nights a week and playing my 12th or 13th Metro, so hooked is probably understates, how I felt about the game at the time. I am an IT guy by trade, and I couldn't stand it. We had to get on the phone and figure out, the brackets for the Metro, or go down there and stand in front of the boards and wait for them to update. And I thought, man, there's a website here to be had. And so, I said, well, I know I need to get with Mark. And so I reached out to Mark, and in 2004, Cincysoftball.com was born. As mentioned, the idea was to have an archive for the softball newspaper, to provide a message board for guys to interact, and to be the online home of the Cincinnati Metro brackets. So I called Mark, and I called Danny, and I called Buck, and I called Dave Murray. And I got blessings and support all around, and the next thing you know, we were on the line, as Mark likes to say. It's online. Part of getting Mark on board, though, was that I did have to get him a 500-hour America Online free CD, so I had to go get one of those. Table 7, these are the jokes, by the way. I did promise you guys a round of beer if you did laugh at Linnemann jokes. So I'll have Jeff kind of poll the audience afterward. All kidding aside, Mark, thank you to you and Diane for so much support and friendship over the last 15 years for the site and for my teams and for me as well. Thank you. So we're off and running now in the height of the website, before Facebook and everything like that, and we're getting 1 million views a year somehow, because everybody around here is so softball crazy and the internet has taken off. And I couldn't have done any of that without a few people I'd like to recognize real quick. Steve Williams with graphics, and Tommy Combs, my programmer. I couldn't have done this without you guys. I'd also like to thank the moderator team quickly. All the former teammates, all to a man, are great guys and personal friends. Ryan Neff, James Hansey, Claude, the U-Freak, Hobaika, Tim Probst, Bobby Thomas, Terry Peters, Joe Fry, Rob Mahaffey, Tom Kelly, Zach Shelton, and Robbie Slimmer. Thank you to all you guys very much. I'd also like to thank the supporting park managers that I've interacted with over the years, and I'll probably miss a few here, but Dave Maury, Buck and Betty Owens, Jared Meier, Todd Fluke, Paul Belsos, Ed Eggleston, Brian Wegman, Nikki Smino-Wozlowski, Danny and Gail Saylor, and many others that have supported the website since 2004, and I apologize if I've missed anybody. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank my wife Jennifer, who has supported me in my crazy ideas and my passion for this sport and the game of softball. Thank you. So 2004, competing for our eyeballs, another startup was Larkins. It was called Facebook. They launched that year as well, and somehow they beat us out on views. I don't know how. But eventually we had to join them, and so a few years ago we added Facebook pages, and after Mark kind of retired from the website, I invited Todd to join, and Todd has been my business partner ever since. Took advantage of his communications background and expanded our Facebook reach to where we now get between 2,000 and 10,000 views every time we put something online, which is amazing. The site has about 6,000 followers, which tells me that the sport's not dying. It's still healthy. Couldn't have done this without Todd's effort and passion and support and friendship, so I'd like to say thank you to my friend, teammate, assistant coach of my current team, Todd Sledge. Thank you. In closing, today takes me back 2 years ago. This very day, I sought out Donnie Holden to congratulate him for his induction to the Hall of Fame. And I said to Donnie, it was those EMR, Watanabe, Freeze, Perkins, Cooper teams in the 90s that inspired so many of us in the 90s and 2000s to play the game. You know, we all wanted to play for Big E, you know, and to play the game at the highest level for the best teams in Cincinnati. And they were good guys, and they played the game the right way. Guys like Marmon, Johnny Steele, Johnny Miller, Joe Penwell. These guys, I could go on and on. I'm leaving some out, but they were a big influence on the passion, my passion in the game for the sport. And that positive influence, mixed with a 35-year-old nerd, and my love for the sport, and everybody in this room, and Greater Cincinnati's acceptance of the sport and love for the sport brings us here today. I'm very honored for this and humbled. Thank you very much.
All right, our next inductee this afternoon will be in the umpire category. Now, you umpired 32 years, you go 23 nationals. What took you so long to get him into this Hall of Fame? Mr. Steve Gordon, and if I remember correctly, has a very distinctive strike call. Am I right?
It can be, yes.
How did that go? That's pretty distinctive. That's what you hear a lot in the over 50 when they swing. All right, at this time, we'd like to invite anyone who's here this afternoon to honor Steve and share this special occasion with him to please stand. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the friends and fellow umpires of Steve Gordon. Here to share some of his thoughts about Steve's career this afternoon, his longtime friend and umpire-in-chief with USA Softball, a 2009 inductee into the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame, Mr. Jerry Fick.
Thank you, Jeff. And first, I'm going to continue the parade, and on behalf of all of us at USA Softball, where I've been filled in last year as the local commissioner, I want to congratulate all the inductees and thank Mark and Todd and David who are taking over the committee and the entire committee for all you do for the Hall of Fame, and more importantly, Cincinnati Softball. Obviously, we have a great program locally here, and it continues that way. And I'm just going to mention, as we haven't had a chance to, USA Softball also had a great year this year, including our first ever on the slow pitch side home run challenge at Northside KSC Park, where Patrick Floyd Foster won the Monster Bat and advanced to hit in the Monster Militia Power Tour at Great America Ballpark. So we plan to continue that event as part of our new organization with USA Softball of Ohio. But I'm really here to talk about Steve Gordon. We're very proud of Steve and what he's done with USA Softball through the years. Most of you probably already know him because probably he's umpired games for just about all of you. He's certainly one of the most recognized umpires on the local softball scene. It all started back in 1985 when Steve was a major complainer. This was his words. It was verified when I sat with Ed Eggleston today. A major complainer to Ed Eggleston on a weekly basis, every single week, tired of umpires that didn't hustle. And Ed was looking for solutions. So he told Steve, do it yourself, and bought him a uniform. Steve liked it and was involved in starting the Eggleston Association and then wanted to advance further. He attended every local training program possible and continues to do so. 4 USA Softball National Umpire Schools, 2 USA Softball week-long advance camps. The key to Steve's success has been his competitive drive and his desire to improve. And I remember when he started working in Metro for the first time in the late 80s, he came to me, and I don't know why he came to me, but he did. He asked for some help, which is not, it's unfortunate, that's not all that common in the umpire business, that people ask for help and try to get better. And I watched his games with a few extra softballs in a plastic bag, and I'd go out between innings, and so nobody would know it, and say, here, you need some more softballs. But at the same time, I was telling him about the 2-umpire system, which he had never been involved in, angles and distances, but he always hustled and worked so hard. And his reputation developed locally, and he continued to the national level, where he again advanced quickly. And is recognized now as one of the top slow pitch umpires in USA softball. 6 men's A tournaments, 3 supers, 3 Armed Forces national tournaments. And you may not be familiar with that event. It's a small event, 4 teams. But there's a knockdown drag out with the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. So you can imagine what that's like. And this last year, he had the opportunity to work the Canadian National Championship in Lethbridge, Alberta, one of 2 USA softball umpires selected to do so. I believe that Steve's drive and determination resulted in his quick advancement and his success. He credits the outstanding competition in his hometown. No doubt both were key factors. But it was right here in Cincinnati that he developed the game management skills and his now national reputation for controlling and running a ball game. The Metro, in its heyday years, the Wednesday night Major League, Super Shootouts, MAB Major League, and more all contributed to his development. He's been involved in training his fellow umpires in USA softball and continues as part of our training staff. And after, actually I counted his 34 years, I don't know exactly, but he's still Mr. Modesty. Talking about the Hall of Fame, he said, "It's hard for me to do this. All I did was umpire, immerse myself in every game, hustle and give it my best." So Steve will be up here shortly, and I think it will be shortly in more ways than one. He'll downplay his success, but I tell you what he has done for our game very much qualifies him for this honor. Most of you who have played the game at a high level know that the higher level you play at, the more you appreciate good umpires. And I know that we can all recognize his accomplishments. Congratulations to Steve Gordon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Gordon, the Norwood Sorrento with the Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame.
Okay, that was tremendous. Thank you, Jerry, for that committee. It's, everyone involved that does this process here. I know there's a lot involved with it, and I want to thank everyone for that, as well as my fellow inductees for this year. It's a great honor to be standing here for this Hall of Fame inductee. That's a lot what Jerry said there. I forgot half of that stuff. But again, as he said, I know what I contribute this to, and it is to those that sit at the players themselves and the coaches. Anywhere in USA I could have been, I would not probably been a Hall of Fame umpire. And I know that it's due to the players out there and the way you played the game, as well as the coaches and such. Cincinnati is very well known for the way you played softball, on the male side and female as well. It's a great honor again. And as the old saying goes, you know, either run with the big dog or stand under the porch. I chose to run with you guys. You guys are the best. Across this country, they talk about Cincinnati softball all the time. Does it really play the way they say it is? And it is. It's a great honor to be here. So again, thank you everyone. And thank you players and coaches. And the most humbling part of all this for me is every time I walk on the field, it's the respect that I received from all of you. Thank you so much.
Is this the same Billy Jackson that played for VIP? It is. He was a pitcher, right? Steve, how the heck was that a legal pitch? The double pump hesitation thing. You all know what I'm talking about. Was it legal or not?
This honestly is the first time we've talked in 25 years.
You guys all know what I'm talking about. And by the way, if I remember correctly, Scott Hine, Leo Osterday, Ron Baird Sr., Larry, what was it, Shirtliff? They carried that team. All you had to do was stay out of the way. Just throw the ball over the plate. Right? Am I right or wrong, guys? Absolutely. Table 7 says so. All right, fun and games are over, in all seriousness. At this time, we'd like to introduce some of Bill's many family members who are here this afternoon to share in this very special occasion. And we'd ask the following individuals to please stand or remain standing until everyone has been introduced, and it's about half the people in this room. So, Bill's wife, Chris, his son and daughter, Jeff and Lindsay Jackson, son and daughter-in-law, John and Michelle Jackson, daughter and son-in-law, Kelly and Andy Newman, brother and sister-in-law, Jim and Nancy Jackson, brother and sister-in-law, Bob and Debbie Jackson. Sister Cindy Jackson, brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Jim and Jenny Effler. And we'd also like to mention that Bill's brother, Jim, who we just introduced, is a retired U.S. Army general who drove all the way from Washington, D.C. to be here for the ceremony today. And now, if there's anyone else here today to honor Bill, except for that table over there, please stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends of Billy Jackson. Well, this ought to be good. Here to share some of his reflections about Bill's career this afternoon, former manager of the World Champion VIP and a 95 inductee of the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame, Ron Baird Sr.
Hi, I'm Ron Baird. I'm glad to see that all of Bill's family is here. That way we knew he would be here. He didn't have any birthday parties to go to. Rumor is that his grandmother died 3 times one year, so he couldn't be the softball tournament. All the glory that Bill received, he's going to receive today because of what he did 30 years ago. So it's probably hard for everybody to understand everything that he did that isn't over 60 years old, or at least over 50. The one thing that I can explain to you that will probably sum it all up for you, what he did as a pitcher, is he pitched the shutout in the 1989 A World Tournament. And if anybody can imagine what that's like, that's the best teams in the nation, and he was there and he pitched the shutout. And of course, as mentioned, of course I can't mention it now, he took full advantage of the new USSSA rule that year and the previous years. In 1985, we took a B team down to Louisiana, and we came in 3rd place. And we would have came in 2nd place, but M.W. Tribble, Leo and Kenny and Burkhofer and a few other people, Marty, was on the team that came back and beat us. We lost the championship game 8-7, and if Bill hadn't hit a home run for an out that game, we would have probably been world champ 2nd. In 1989, we won the A World Championship with Billy. I made the smart managerial move in the semifinal game when we were ahead, I believe 15-1. I took Billy out of pitching because I thought I'll rest him up for the next game. Well, about an inning and a half later, I put him back in, and I think we won that game 17-14. That sort of explains to you Billy's accomplishments. But more important, softball is about friends, family, and winning. And Bill made sure that he had good friends, good family, and we always won. Welcome, Bill.
right now is Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame.
Marty, do I need the speaker? Are you sure? Stand out front. This is a tough crowd. First of all, let me get my notes out. They're on a piece of toilet paper. You think I'm kidding? Not that one. It's this one. I want to give the thanks and credit to the people that deserve it. First of all, to the committee, selection committee, for giving me this honor. Also to Mark Linnemann for calling me probably 5 or 6 times in the last 4 days to tell me what I can do and can't do. My memory's not the best anymore, and I tend to sometimes do things I'm not supposed to do. Who said that? Yeah. But to him, thank you very much. Of course, to Ronnie Baird, I wouldn't be here without him. Great manager, sponsor, and friend. To the rest of the inductees, congratulations. Thank you. You all deserve it. Now, family. I told you I wasn't going to do it. I told you. Wife, kids, brother, sister. It means a lot to have y'all here. I didn't expect it. I probably don't deserve it, but my wife has been everything. I'm gonna let that go now. all the players I played with, played against, I wouldn't be here without you guys. The players, pitching is one thing, but players got to catch the ball. They got to do the things. They got to hit. And I was lucky for a couple years to do things that other pitchers may not have been able to or didn't want to do. I took full advantage. We won the World Championship, which is a feat in itself. So to all of them, thank you. Now, I'm wearing a suit today. What? Hey, you guys are supposed to be quiet. I don't own a suit. I still weigh 180, but I retain water. So the jackets that I have, which normally fit me, don't fit me right now. So I had to put the word out. And some friends of mine came up with, I got pants, jacket, she even had socks. They're my shoes, my underwear, my belt. All this goes back. Here's the reason, this will be the last thing I do. George, can you hold this? This was one of my jackets, and I didn't want to wear it because I was going to look like a giant Christmas tree. That guy. I have other ones in there that fit about the same. I have one more thing I want to say. Daphne, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. My good buddy Marty Monteroso, when he got inducted, thanked everybody from his first grade teacher to God knows who. Forgot to thank her. I've never seen a woman more scorned and so more pissed off. She was so mad. One last one. To the friends at 7, Kenny, Connie, love you guys. Thank you. Also, real quick, the reason I left, I had to change my depends. I had to go to the bathrooms. I had to go.
You guys think he's kidding? That really is toilet paper. I'm serious. It really is.
I told you.
Carter was over there. You gotta be kidding me. He's read his speech 700 times, backwards and forwards, and it's still not his turn. So read it another 7 times. Our next inductee this afternoon will be in the female player category, Jane Meier of Edgewood, Kentucky. Now, I don't know if you guys got these, read the little bios of you. 483 and 68 when she played for Sorrento. So it's an 877 winning percentage in 6 years. That's pretty darn good. Man. 6 years. At this time, we'd like to introduce some of Jane's family members who are here this afternoon to share this special occasion. With her, we'd like to ask the following individuals to please stand and remain standing. Jane's husband, Steve. Her son, Matt, and daughter-in-law, Allison, who are not here. You told me that. Mary Ann Shepard and her sister and brother-in-law, Nancy and Paul Kabbalah. Is that right? Correct? All right, now if there's anyone else here today to honor Jane, we'd like to invite you to stand at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, the family and friends of Jane Meier. Now here to share some of her reflections about Jane's softball career this afternoon is her longtime friend and former teammate and a 2005 inductee into the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame, Marilyn Hoover.
I retain water.
Good afternoon. I have a group of friends that sometimes when we get together, we like to have this little exercise where we use 5 words to describe somebody and see how many of those words coincide with the group. So I thought I'd pick 5 words to describe my teammate, Jane Shepard-Meier. The first one would be professional. Like many of us, we used big-time competitive softball as a stepping stone for our career and went on to do something that had to do with athletics. Jane did better than most, as well as being a distinguished college coach in both volleyball and softball. She served as the athletics director at Northern Kentucky University for 11 years, overseeing both the men and women's programs. Jane is the first and only woman in Kentucky to hold such a position. She's already been inducted into 1 Hall of Fame, the Collegiate Athletic Director of Athletics Hall of Fame, and has been awarded the Athletic Director Association Lifetime Achievement Award, so I'd say she's pretty professional. My second word would be graceful. Sometimes I would watch Jane run out to the left field in her position behind me as I played shortstop and be amazed that it seemed like you couldn't even hear her feet touch the ground. She would just glide when tracking down outs, and there weren't very many that ever got by her. When a ball got hit over my head in the air, I figured that either she or Chris Winters was coming up with it. My third word would be class. Back in the day when women's slow pitch was a big deal, and I've been sitting here watching the men's presentations, And I'm actually a little bit saddened because women's slow pitch is no more. And that's very sad, because I don't think many of you realize what it used to be, because it used to be a really big deal. But back when it was a big deal, there were a few of us that were a little rough around the edges. And jawing back and forth was as much part of the game as offense and defense. Jane was always enthusiastic and competitive, but she was never part of the riffraff. She was just total class. She definitely was no Homer Bailey. Word number 4 is winner. Our Sorrento's teams enjoyed a lot of success. The 1976 national championship team was 92-8 that season. You don't have a record like that without having winners. Janie, and I'm looking out there and seeing a whole lot of ladies that were also on that team. Janie was an integral part of that team, and throwing out a Miami dot at the plate in our 2-0, no 37 runs in an inning, 2-0 victory in the finals of the losers bracket was a critical part of that outcome. After visiting with Jane's family this weekend, my biggest regret is they never got to see her compete, because she was something. My 5th word is friend. Those of you that have been blessed with the opportunity to play this competitive game understand the bond that develops when you're in the same foxhole. I don't think we ever played 5 nights a week in a league, but we sure did spend an awful lot of time. It's been almost 40 years since Janie and I were teammates, but I am honored to still call her friend. Janie.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jane Meier, the Norwood Sorrento Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame.
Good afternoon. I've been to a number of these, and this is really the first one that I feel like this is like rolling. And I know it's because of Mark. I know. He did harass us, honestly. Thank you, Marilyn. Marilyn was a team leader, setting the tone, compete at the highest level in every game. I loved playing behind Marilyn. She was the best shortstop any outfielder could ever work with. And I threw home on that one play because she told me to do that. That's the truth. To the other inductees, congratulations on your well-deserved honor. It is a privilege to be a part of the same class. Thank you, Marcia Helton, for the nomination. And no, Merle Foster isn't here, but he also helped with the historical information. And I also would like to say thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for my induction. Thank you very much to the sponsors. It's an incredible list of sponsors that are supporting this event. And also for those responsible for making this Hall of Fame induction event a success. Especially thank you to Mark and Diane Linnemann for your many years of dedicated work in our community on behalf of slow pitch softball. It's been outstanding. Opportunities. We're all given them, and fortunately, in my life, I've had plenty. In 1964, my first opportunity was to play a team sport, and the first team sport I ever played was slow pitch softball. There were no girls' basketball leagues, volleyball leagues in grade school. If you can imagine today what that would feel like, just think about it. Thankfully, and this is true, our church sponsored a girls' softball team, and I also had the opportunity to have my sister as a teammate. I don't know if she thought it was an opportunity. This opportunity led to playing in the Covington Friday Night League, and then the highly competitive women's leagues on Tuesday, Thursday night, and then weekend after weekend of softball tournaments. We played constantly. My coaches and managers were excellent, influenced my high school and coaching career, and also my professional career. And just a real quick note, I was the athletic director at NKU for 21 years, not 11. I don't know where she got that. I'm sure I sent it. So, yeah, I know. A unique opportunity was playing for Connie Kearns. My mom played for Connie Kearns in the late 1940s. That's the truth. She worked and played at Western and Southern on their company team. 26 years later, I played for Connie Kearns. And there's a picture over there of Connie Kearns and his team, and it's incredible. My Coach Gene Dell, my former Cardinals coach, former basketball coach and professor in college, is a first-class person, top-notch coach, and a professional, and hopefully will be inducted into this Hall of Fame someday. My Sorrento's coach, Merle Williams, and his staff, Larry Patterson, Ron Redlogle, they instilled aggressiveness, laying it out all on the field, and we were very fundamentally sound. And it's difficult at times for me to watch Major League Baseball because of how fundamentally sound they are not. They are terrible. Having said that, is it not the truth? It's the truth. Yeah, they don't throw, yeah, it's terrible. I had the opportunity to have teammates and coaches on any team that I played with, totally dedicated and committed to success. We practiced and played with one goal: win every game we played. We did not like to lose, and when we did, it made us even want to win more. I loved the competition. I loved my teammates for their complete focus on team success. Winning the national championship epitomized that attitude. We rose up to the challenges. In the 1976 national championship in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we lost our first game of the tournament. We went on to win 10 games in a row, defeating North Carolina Rubiots, which were coached by, at that time, legendary North Carolina State basketball coach Kay Yow. 2 games in the finals is what we had to do. And again, Marilyn had said we finished with a 92-8 record. To play softball at the highest level for women in our community and in the United States was a unique opportunity and privilege. To my former teammates, from all the teams that I have played with, and there are some from the 60s, 70s, it's just incredible. Thank you for being here for my induction, and some of them have actually traveled across country. I was blessed to have you as part of my life. After my playing career, there was many more opportunities in my life. I coached slow or fast pitch at NKU for 8 years, and 2 of my players are here today, Brenda Ryan and Amy Flahar. And again, they were members of the Greater Cincinnati Hall of Fame, and it's been a privilege to have coached such fine student athletes, the best of the best. I worked at NKU with great friends who were also very accomplished coaches and professionals. Mary Bierman, Nancy Winstall, Mary Kirk, Kathy Stewart. We spent a lot of time together working towards the success of the NKU athletics program. You helped lay the groundwork for the athletics program of today. Thank you. I am very fortunate to have my family as part of my life. I met Steve at NKU. We've been married for 36 years. We have a son, Matt, and he's married to Allison, and both of them were NKU graduates, and they have a daughter, Alexis, our first grandchild. My mom and dad gave me many opportunities in my life, particularly in education and in playing sports. Thank you, Mom. I know it wasn't easy with 8 kids to tend to, but you found a way. And to Nancy and Paul Kabala, you have helped Steve and I over the years for over many ways and over the years, and I deeply appreciate all that you have done for our family. In closing, the opportunity to have met and been a small part of Sorrento's Willie DeLuca's life is a priceless experience. He loved people. He loved being part of the softball community that he sponsored so many of us. And many of us have benefited from his generosity. It's extra special for me to be inducted into the Sorrento's Greater Cincinnati Hall of Fame. I deeply appreciate today's recognition. Thank you.
way, Jane. Daughter number 1 for me graduates from NKU in 3 months. So final semester there. So, you know, it's interesting. If I get off track for 1 second, Mark, I'm sorry, because we're so far ahead of schedule, which is so amazing for this event. She mentioned fundamentals, and the one thing that I hear all the time from the managers, I remember we were sitting at Arlington Stadium in Texas, and I was sitting on the bench with Dusty Baker before the game started. This was a couple years ago, and Texas was out there taking BP, and they actually were taking infield practice, which is something that almost never happens in Major League Baseball anymore before games. And Dusty was sitting on his bench with his arms crossed, and he says, "Look at that." He goes, "What do I'm sorry kids, complain about?" He said another word, "every day to you." And I said, "Fundamentals of your team." And he goes, "That's right. These guys don't know how to play baseball anymore. They know how to play their position, but they don't know how to play the actual game anymore." And it's amazing when you watch this. And I have the great opportunity now to work for the SEC Network, and I do women's basketball. And you watch the men's game, and it's all one-on-one. And it's guys trying to dunk the ball or shoot a three-pointer. That's all it is. And the women's game is really the way the game was taught to be played. You see plays developing, you see the screens, you see inbound plays. It's amazing the difference in the men's game and the women's game, yet it's the same game. But the fundamentals that the women have, I feel, are so superior to what the men have. The men are just great athletes and they can hit the ball 900 miles, but the women play the game the right way, and we see that with these women here today, so congratulations to all of you. All right, as we said, we're way ahead of schedule, but it's coming to a screeching halt with this guy. He's so nervous over here, he's read this thing 100 times. Our final inductee this afternoon will be a male player. It's Jimmy Carter of Loveland. Now again, if you look in your little books here and you read the bios of these guys, he played 14 seasons, over 1,000 home runs. Now, I've never really played softball to the abilities of anybody in this room, but that's a lot of home runs, isn't it? Do you have 1,000? 2? Okay. 1,000.
2 a game.
Oh, 2 a game. That's pretty good. All right, at this time, we'd like to introduce some of Jimmy's family members who are here this afternoon. Again, stand when you're introduced. Jimmy's wife, Julie. His daughter, Polly. His sons, Jimmy and Jake. His mom and dad, Winnie and Jim Carter. His sister and brother-in-law, Kelly and Terry Maples. Sister and brother-in-law, Katie and Brock Root. And his sister and brother-in-law, Kim and Jeff Click. If there's anyone else here today to honor Jimmy Carter, we'd like to invite you to stand this time. Ladies and gentlemen, the family and friends of Jimmy Carter. Not a great president, but a great softball player. Here to share. Come on. After he was president, he had a heck of a life. Here to share some of the thoughts about Jimmy's renowned career, his brother-in-law, 2014 inductee to the Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame, Mr. Jeff Click.
I thought 2,000 was kind of high, or 1,000. When I saw that, that was the first thing I asked him about. But then when we did the math, we were like, yeah, it's probably right on. So he did a good job, with the total. So I just want to say, good afternoon, everybody. And obviously I'm here to tell everybody about my teammate, my brother-in-law, Jimmy Carter. I played softball for 19 years, and probably one of the biggest highlights of my career was getting to play with Jimmy. All the travel to tourneys together, especially the plane rides, where he was deathly afraid, holding on to my knee, sweating profusely all the time. I'll definitely always remember that. All the hitting together that we did, and basically just watching him grow into one of the best players in the city. We played together for many years with Freeze and Watanabe, and there's many great memories, and I'll try to highlight a few of those. Jimmy, like many of the players here, started at the lower levels in softball, basically playing on league nights. And that's kind of where he got his start, at Expressway Park, and that's where he experienced his, probably his first big softball moment. and that was winning an Expressway Park League T-shirt championship. Yeah, and I'm getting to that, all right? And so he was pointing out, and the reason it was so big is because he beat Mike Smith's team. You know, and Jimmy still wears that T-shirt today. At family outings, he has it on, wears it proudly. You know, and that was like his big accomplishment. And then it took a few years later, I finally talked Mike into picking Jimmy up. Mike didn't want to because he was still bitter because Jimmy's team won, had a league championship. But then, you know, Mike finally, you know, agreed to pick Jimmy up, and then Jimmy was obviously just, you know, a difference maker and was a big contributor to the success that we had with Freeze. One of Jimmy's greatest strengths, you know, as a player was hitting. You know, that's kind of what he was known for, and he could definitely hit. And so when we first started playing together, he was about 24 and I was 32. And so I was trying to be the mentor to him, you know, and I would hit in front of him in the lineup. You know, I'd hit second, he'd hit third. That way I wouldn't be embarrassed when he hit it way further than me, and those type of things. And so I would try to give him some points of advice. And so I would say, like, so what are you thinking there? You know, like, try to be that mentor. You know, what are you trying to do in that situation? And every answer, you know, wherever we were, games, tournaments, wherever, it didn't matter. He's just like, I'm just trying to hit the ball real hard. And I'm like, that's it? Yeah, I'm just trying to hit it real hard. And so this is how good of coach I am. I said, all right, we'll keep doing that. Occasionally, like when he was young, he didn't really know where it was going. So I know Bobby Nath, he's not here tonight, but Jimmy hit Bobby, right? Who else? He's got a list, and so I would try to go up to him, and I'm like, he's not doing it on purpose, all right? He really doesn't know where it's going right now, okay? But he just kept developing into, you know, a good hitter. He loved to hit, you know, and so he would always text or call me, and he would say, let's go hit. You know, he wanted me to pitch to him. And then he would pitch to me too, but he didn't really care about that. He just wanted to hit. And so, you know, towards the end of my career, I was older, and I was like, you know, it's hot. I don't really want to hit. You know, like, I'm outside the pool. You know, like, I'm good. You know, and so Jimmy is the baby of the family. All right, so he's got his 3 sisters. You know, obviously my wife being one of them. And so Jimmy would call my wife and say, Jeff won't hit with me. So, you know, he knew what to do, and so then my wife would, you know, call me and say, why won't you hit with my brother? And I was like, well, I don't know, I didn't feel like it. And he's like, you need to hit with him, you know, and stuff. And so I did what I was told to do. So and there, you know, so we found out there was 2 things that you didn't do in the Carter house, and that was you had to always hit with Jimmy when he wanted to hit, and you never said that anybody can play first base. You know, that is easy. You know, shortstop way harder than first base, all right? But you can't say that, okay? But, you know, in playing the field, Jimmy was a good fielder, right? He started in the outfield under Kevin Shea's tutelage in the outfield, right? He used to attack balls. Like, he would tackle them, didn't he? And then he also liked to give advice. And so, like, one time we were playing a world tournament up in Detroit. Yeah, and so we're getting beat pretty bad, and Jimmy's in right field, and he starts yelling at us in the infield. I mean, they're just hitting lasers through the infield, hits, just hit after hit after hit, and he's yelling at us to catch the ball. Not like we're not trying, you know, and so, you know, so he just keeps yelling at us. And so, like, everybody kind of knows Jimmy as being like the B. May of softball. All right, like, you had B. May, who I played with. He's like the mayor of softball. And then B. May retired. Then Jimmy kind of filled in his shoes, you know, because Jimmy's very friendly, but he didn't always used to be like that. He had a fiery side, too. And so he's yelling at us. Next thing you know, I'm yelling at him. I'm like, here, why don't you take my glove? You know, he's left-handed. That doesn't work very well. You know, and so we finally get out of the inning, and then we keep yelling at each other in the dugout and saying some choice words to each other. And it was probably if it wasn't for Kevin Shea and the fence, probably saved me, and I was actually able to finish the tournament. So that's a good thing. And what was really cool about it is that my wife was there with my daughter, their parents, and his wife to be. I think that was your first tournament with us. And she was like, yeah, she was like, this is awesome. I'm all in for this. And so, you know, we finished out the tournament. We never talked to each other the whole rest of the tournament. I hit in front of him, you know, got hits, he hit home runs, no high fives. We didn't talk. You know, played the rest of the tournament, finished in the top 5, played about 6 more games and never spoke to each other. You know, so it worked out pretty well. Got home, went to a family birthday party. He sat on one side of the room, I sat on the other. Still didn't talk, and then it wasn't until we had to go to Virginia and we rode together for 6 hours, and then we finally had to break the ice. DC Sniper was out then, so we were worried about each other. Yeah, so that was definitely, you know, a highlight. But anyway, I could just go on and on, but I won't, because I know Mark will, you know, we're on time, so that's good. But it was challenging, you know, to come up and try to pick out the high points. You know, there's a lot of his teammates here who could just keep going on and tell a whole lot of stories about Jimmy. So, you know, the final thing, just in conclusion, I'd just like to say, you know, Jimmy is definitely 100% a Hall of Fame softball player, but to me, you know, more importantly, he's a Hall of Fame brother-in-law, he's a Hall of Fame husband, dad, son, brother, and definitely an uncle to my kids. He's as great a person as he is a player, and honestly, in the grand scheme of things, that's the greatest accomplishment of all. So congratulations, Jimmy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jimmy Carter to the Norwood Sorrento Greater Cincinnati Softball Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jeff. First, my wife Julie, my kids, Holly, Jimmy, and Jay. I love you, and thank you for all the sacrifices you make to let me go play with my friends. Thanks to my parents for always coming out to my games, renting houses in Florida, and for being my #1 fans. To Mark Linnemann, Todd Sledge, and the Hall of Fame committee, thank you for all that you do. Thanks to Sorrento's and all the other great sponsors. I would like to take this time to thank all the sponsors who allowed me to be a part of their teams throughout the years. Todd Sledge, Kelly Sledge, and the Sledge family, Jim Freeze, Dave Watanabe, Terry Walton Blitz, Nick Ciccinelli, Patty Brisbane, Pure Romance, Ben Cosgrove, Headlines, Red Moore, Herb Price, Dave Feitner and Brett Helmer, Easton, Kevin Forwood, Premier Services, and Justin Green, TG Brand. My first experience with softball was when my sister started dating this guy named Jeff. As Jeff became part of our family, I would go watch him play in the Thursday night league at Expressway Park. He played for First American at the time. The more I went, the more I learned the names of the teams and the names of the players that played. Some of those players would later be my teammates. The Thursday night league was stacked. It had teams like First American, Freeze Concrete, Watanabe, UDF, Perkins, Backstop, and Lovell Electric, and many more. I would have loved to play in that league with so many great teams and players. When I moved back from California, I needed something to do with my time, so I started playing softball. I started playing with Jeff at Township Tavern Fields, and it took me a while to get the softball swing down. Earlier in my career, I always tried to hit the ball as hard as I could. It's true. So luckily, there were so many guys on the teams I played for that would hit the ball down and sacrifice their averages so I could swing out of my shoes. And many of those guys are sitting in the audience now. Thank you. After years of bugging Jeff to go hit, I was able to progress and become a pretty good hitter. I'm a full middle hitter. I enjoy hitting the middle, whether it was defending our pitcher or going for a base hit. I don't try to hit pitchers, but unfortunately it happens. All the teams I played for were great teams. Not great in the sense of, you know, victories and world titles, but great in the sense of we were like a family. Sure, we had our problems, but we always had each other's backs. We played on and off the field, we fought on and off the field, and we partied on and off the field. Softball has given me a lifetime of friends and memories. Thank you.
I'm only chuckling because I happened to be standing behind Jimmy when Jeff got into it. I'm yelling, Jimmy, kick his butt! Kick his butt, Jimmy! Yeah, it's good tournament with that. But great teammates. We always enjoyed beating those Michigan teams. Before we move further, I need to apologize to some gentlemen who are my friends. I overlooked them earlier on when I was mentioning local accomplishments. And really in mentioning this, I should have said for those guys that are playing senior ball, we're coming. We're all getting to that age. You heard about the 40 and over and the 35 and over. And I failed to mention that also in Cincinnati this past September, Living Legends, sponsored by Chuck Kinney, if you could stand, they won the competitive division of the 35 and over GSL World Championships, and with them is Todd Bittner, Todd, you can stand, Steve Williams, and Jimmy Carter happened to be a part of that team as well. So congratulations to you. And no, Chuck, that won't get you any favors from the state office. Also, don't forget about your index cards on the table. If you could gladly take a few minutes to fill those out with your name and email address and a phone number would be great. And also, before I make some final acknowledgments, I'd like to mention that our Hall of Fame is funded entirely by the generosity of our sponsors, which you've heard so much about this evening, and also the contribution of our Super Bowl squares and Split the Pot. There are some envelopes on your table. If you feel generous enough to help us out in any other contributions, we would greatly appreciate that so that this keeps this great event moving forward each year. We've had some great donations between $25 to up to $1,500. And we greatly appreciate that generosity. Now I'd like to thank a few people, our Hall of Fame committee, all of our sponsors, especially Norwood Sorrento's, the Radisson Hotel, and Matt Anger and his staff for accommodating us. I don't know, let's give our bartenders and Star that group a round of applause. Also like to thank Jan Dieters, who's videotaping the ceremony today. Thank you, Jan. I'm going to miss you at our meetings. Robin Fecky for taking all the photos, and these photos will be available on Mr. Larkins' website at Cincysoftball.com on Facebook. We'll get those up very soon. Thank you, Robin. Diane Linnemann and Meier Burwell and Melissa Allhagen for your help at the front desk. Thank you very much for all your help there as well. And also our team that was helping us sell tickets today. Lastly, Jeff Pecoro. Jeff, it's always great to have you. It's one of the staple things I know a lot of our members look forward to each year. Taking time out of your schedule, coming from Arizona, to do that, but it does make a very special mark in what we do here in the Hall of Fame, and we appreciate everything that you add with that as well. So ladies and gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind, please give us another round of applause for our MC, Jeff Pecoro. And now I'd like to turn the program over to you.
And a special sorry to Dave Maury, the butt of all jokes today for whatever reason. Now, before we send you guys on your way, I'd like to introduce the Hall of Fame class for next year, the 2020 class. And we ask each of you to stand and be recognized when your name is called. In the senior player category, Bob Bossie. Male player category, Jay Hopkins. He's represented today by his nephew, Roy Hopkins. In the umpire category, Bob Lipsky. In the manager category, Steve McCauley. Male player category, Gary Nelson. Male player category, Brad Reckart. And the senior players category, Kathy Sowers. Congratulations to all of you. And again, it's been a lot of fun, as it always is, and we're getting you guys out of here on time. And I will ask if all of the inductees, when you're done, when we get done, please come over here to the right. We're going to take pictures over here of the entire class. Congratulations and thanks, everyone.